Hello, and welcome to Coffee Time. Coffee Time is a space where magical humans come together for some real talk, strong coffee, and powerful introspections on whatever is top of mind right now. My name is Natalie, and I am your host for this channel and today's super exciting conversation. The idea behind Coffee Time is that you are in your favorite coffee shop, maybe cozied up with a book, and you begin to listen in on an intriguing conversation between folks at the next table over. For that reason, there is no big introduction. We absolutely let the conversation speak for itself. And if you do want to know more about these special guests following today's episode, I invite you to check out the show notes for more details. So, on that note, let's dive right in. I'm excited to actually be talking because we kind of connected through the group and oh, thank God, because you helped me with so much. And I feel like we just dove in right away to all the big things and which was really awesome. But
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to ask you more generally, if you're up for it, to just explain how you got into I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, but psychometry. How do you pronounce it?
Psychometry, yeah. This is like the funniest story ever. Because before I've even I did this for a friend who is also a client of mine, and I'm kind of she's now telling me this is the friend of mine and client. I actually had the Zoom talk this week and the camera was still working, so that's why I'm not
What happened?
having it. Yeah, it's like, what the hell? But so I worked with her first in the summer as kind of like a project, and then she asked me again about another story about her house. And back then, I know that I am claircognizant and also clairsentient. I knew that, but I always say that I'm not that psychic. I can tap into energies. I know and feel everything out because I am high sensitive. So I have always had that in my whole life. And I can always sense danger and stuff, but I never thought that I would be that psychic, that I could connect with spirits and stuff, because I cannot see them and I cannot physically in this world, if I not intentionally tap into any energies, I cannot feel them. And I am thank God I cannot do that, because I don't want to be my house being haunted. Seriously, no.
Yeah, there's an episode coming out a bit ahead of this one, just in terms of sequence of recordings, and I share about the fact that growing up, that was my house, and I think I shut it down a lot, and so now it's coming back a bit. But back then, kind of stemming from what you said about knowing you're claircognizant and clairsentient, I didn't know that. I didn't know those were things. So it really, to me, there was no discerning between where these things exist and where I exist and how I'm seeing them. It was just that I was seeing them. And it was terrifying because I couldn't understand like I do now, where when I close my eyes before bed and I see a frightening figure or whatever, I didn't understand that it's not necessarily here / to harm me. It's presenting itself in a way because it needs my help or whatever. It's evolved over time, I guess. And now it's a little less terrifying, but I don't blame you for not wanting that, because I definitely didn't.
Yeah, I am I totally resonate with that. For me, I started this kind of whole spiritual journey actually 3 years ago. And back then when I was younger, I got heavily bullied because, high sensitive people, I always say that if they don't know how to filter, their emotions and stuff, and they're just literally vulnerable. And, they don't just, they make themselves really vulnerable, and then they become a target. So most of the people who get bullied, and I got heavily bullied, and back then I didn't even know that I was high sensitive and stuff. And through that, at the beginning of my 20s, I was I don't want to say that this is not normal, but this is not a regular thing, that I am oversensitive, first of all, and second of all, like I can't feel things. That's not my own emotions. And I just don't want to be like, high agitated like the whole time. And then I got into like empathic, like empaths. But I didn't resonate like being a full empath, because as a full empath, you like don't not only like feel without like intentionally like right like other people's emotions, but also emotions from like another realm, like spirits and stuff. I don't have that. I like intentionally I cannot feel other like spirits emotions, but if I intentionally tap into it, I can feel it, right? So that's how I got into like high sensitivity. This is a psychological thing. This is a trait.
That's interesting, because I hadn't actually thought of that until you say it. And I wonder if that's what was kind of coming through for me, because also I guess we like just connected and it kind of like rocketed with our whole thing about my ring. But my like this level of my spiritual awakening only started back in like June. So I've gotten thrown in like pretty fast. And one of the things walking around my house when I was identifying that there was some activity going on was I would feel, and I don't know if this is what you mean by like you can't unintentionally feel emotions, but like I have certain spots that have felt like heavy, or like or I'd be standing there and I'd get the feeling of like loneliness. And I think that's kind of it. I feel like it's a bit more intentional. Like I have to be focusing on it a bit. But it does come through rather quickly. But it's been helpful in terms of figuring out like what these entities need and if I can
It's
offer it.
exactly like that. Like if I get a picture or something, it's like not that I'm just seeing it and I know what it is, right? It's just like, okay, I need to focus on it. I kind of like to concentrate, and then in probably 1 or 2 minutes, I would like get some feelings or like informations and stuff. So like this is exactly like this. So further to our story, it just like back, gets sideways. And so this friend of mine came to me about like her house. And she was like literally, and she still is obsessed with it, like finding really like details. She felt like this house had something. She was like you with the ring. She felt like drawn to this house. And it's just like a really like old ass house. It was it looked totally different back then, but but they basically changed a little bit with the front house and stuff. They had also like a garage, and so it looked completely different back then. And she just wanted to know like when this building was originally built, and she couldn't find anything. And if she went like through like not only like Google search, she went to what's the word, like the
City archive,
city hall. Yeah, she went to the city hall and gone through the records, and she couldn't find anything. And even she asked the grandson, and there's like nothing, literally nothing. And because she lived there for like a long time, and she was like frustrated as hell. So she asked me, because she felt like we have also this kind of like a connection. She calls me that I'm her guide, or at least their guides is saying that I am a spirit guide manifested in physical form.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, all right, this needs like a second to take in, but okay. Yeah, and I was like, I told her like I'm not that psychic, but I can tap into the energy and like see how things go. And I was like open to it. I think that the fact that I was open to it, it was beneficial. So I just asked for a picture of the house, and I just took some time and just there in the picture. And then things came to me and I was like, okay, I need to write it down. And just like wrote everything down that came to me. The first thing was the energy was like a really fun energy. I got hippie vibe.
Okay.
I got party vibe. It's
Oh
it's
boy.
like, and
Yeah.
it was also like high society kind of thing. And then I also got like the vibe, like a picture in my mind that the house facade was like beige-ish, beige yellow-ish.
Right.
And then what also came to me first was the year 1965. So with numbers and especially timelines, I'm like especially skeptic.
Yeah.
If I don't have a proof, I don't know if it's just me, thinking too much or if it's like like an actual fact. So what she messaged me, and also like literally photos, I was like, I was like brain fucked, literally.
Yeah.
She sent me a picture of like an old picture of the house, the facade. It was in the 50s. It was beige.
Oh wow.
And then, and then she did some renovations in the house. And then she found that someone signed on the walls. And it was like a sign, an autograph, basically. And then it was, the date was 29th of November, 1965.
That's wild.
And I was, I was like, I was brain fucked. I was like, what?
Well, it's cool when that stuff happens though too, because I think like you said, it's being open to it. And by being open to it, I feel at least we kind of start like, because this is kind of your entry into this, right? Like we start to trust the information we're getting. And I think there's always a healthy degree of skepticism when you're going into something that really can't be like quantitatively, like objectively analyzed. Like there's no objectively state that like, yes, Natalie, you are talking to this spirit who XYZ, like you just can't do it. But those moments help kind of reaffirm the connection. And then we can, I think from there kind of enhance our gifts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like working with this kind of stuff, because I say that psychometry, it's like kind of mediumship, but it's like a different, like another way of mediumship. It's not like you, for example, you see ghosts, but like you see spirits, but I don't. I don't see them, but it's like unintentionally, for example, I don't see them. They don't appear all of a sudden. But I like
for that to happen, for the record. This is just kind of started.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, we are all kind of we all have our gifts. Like, there is one moment where like it will open eventually. If you intentionally work on it or not. For you, probably it was not. And so
it was a little backwards for me, but no, totally. So when you're talking about psychometry, then the way that I understand it is it's like reading the energy of more of like an object or a photograph. And at least for what you did to me, like it did come up that there was a spirit attached to it, but the way I understand it is it more kind of can give you a history of that thing and the interactions it has had with people, like, etc. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah. Yeah, this is accurate. It's the thing is like there is a thing that in science, I mean, it's still really controversial. This part of psychology, like parapsychology, is like really controversial still. But there are some universities who do some research in parapsychology, and it's okay. It's a term established that like psychometry is the ability where you can read the story of a really old object or any object. It's mostly also used in when you solve a cold case or like crime in general.
Yeah, I've heard
and you can read, you can get the sense and the energy of like in theory, the one who had the object, like the last person who had the object. And some people get visions, like this is what portrayed, of course, in media and stuff. They are probably, clairvoyants, but me, for example, I can sense the spirit that is attached to the object, which also is like a part of psychometry. Like if it's like either the history, the last person who had this object, or it's like some spirit that attached themselves to the object. And mostly when people buy some antiquity stuff or get hand-me-downs, yeah, that's mostly like there is a spirit attached to this object who intentionally wants you to have this object. So this is mostly what's happened with things.
Like my ring. And like that all makes a lot of sense to me too, just from you saying you discovered you were empathic, because when I was kind of reading about the different like when this all started for me, and I bought this book to figure out like what kind of powers you have, and empathic / clairsentient was one of them. And there was like a quiz to see like what you might be and what gifts you want to enhance. And one of the things for those who are empathic, and just to clarify for anyone listening, like empathic in terms of a spiritual superpower, as I call it, is not the same as being empathetic. Like they're different.
Yes.
And so as an empath, in the sense of empathic powers, it is common to be highly sensitive to like antiques or older objects for that very reason. What's interesting is I had never thought of it moving into the realm of what you do and what you're talking about in terms of actually being able to tap into like the story of the object. I've been curious about it, but for whatever reason, I have a block of like, oh, I can't do that, which I don't think is entirely true. It's just not something I have tried actively to explore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, before I did like the house thing with my friend, I also said that like I'm not that psychic. I know that I am gifted. I can do certain things. I am really gifted with divinations and stuff. That one I know. And I mean, I'm a witch, so I do a lot of occultism stuff. But I never thought that I was like literally psychic. So that's why I never like intentionally opened myself to this thing. Like it basically got like thrown at me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, like this is what I think is like it's got thrown at me. It's like, wait, that's like literally what's happened like to you as well. So.
Oh, it's hard. You know what? You just reminded me too. I have an object in my house that someone had said to me I should try to read the energy of. So maybe I'll have to send, if you're up for it, maybe I'll try, and I'll also send you a photo of it to see what we get from it.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like that would be a cool experiment. Though.
I'll probably get nothing, but I'll try it. It's a bone, actually. It's a bone from an animal that my friend found in some random river and gave.
Oh my God.
Totally weird, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, with animal, this first thing. I mean, okay, I watched Ghost Adventures this morning, so like it's the thing that comes to me is like, oh my God, like animal bone, animal sacrifice, and now I'm like no.
But I've had it here for years now, and unfortunately at one point, so a piece of it is missing, but I think it's a pelvic bone. I don't know, but I find it interesting. So
okay,
little experiments. Yeah.
But I just like I thought like with your ring, I do have to say like I told you like the energy was like highly complicated. It was like I felt like it's like Jesus Christ, like what the hell is that? It's like really, really complicated and really, I don't want to say dark, but it's like really heavy energy. And it just blocked my sinuses. Like really, it blocked my sinuses. It was like,
oh, interesting. I'm sorry that happened. I will speak to her about that. No, I'm kidding. But it was complicated because I guess I guess I can give some context for people listening. So people know I was engaged. I am no
Mm-hmm.
longer. Um, uh, and I still have my engagement ring, which was purchased in an antique shop. And when I was in that shop, what happened was I did a loop and I came to this case, and this ring was sitting there on this little porcelain toilet, like holding it. It was really cute. And it was so shiny. And I don't know what it was,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, that ring is just beautiful. And I
Mm-hmm.
tried it on and it was pretty much fit perfectly. It was stunning. So my then
Well,
partner went back and bought it. This was like years before we even got engaged. He held on to this thing for like 3 years.
okay.
After we broke up, he said, like you can keep it. And I was like, okay. And I wasn't sure at first if I would want to keep it just because, there's a lot of, even though
Yeah.
I feel things went exactly as they needed to. And like I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of peace around it now. There's still a lot of emotion connected to any relationship ending, right?
Yeah.
And, especially when you'd had that level of commitment, whatever intention.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure, but the more it sat here, the more I was like, I feel like that ring was supposed to be mine.
Of
Um,
course.
and so I kept it. And at a certain point, when I posted in that group, I was like, I was feeling pulled to learn more about it. Because the other thing I will say is this ring is, hi, cat. This ring is an opal. And
Mm-hmm.
my cat's down here just like chilling.
Yeah.
And I had seen a lot of people post saying like opals are bad luck or something because
No.
I think because they carry history, like it's hard to
Yeah.
cleanse that from them,
Mm-hmm.
which in this instance makes a whole lot of sense because obviously,
Yeah.
that spirit was hanging on tight and that stone probably helped her to do that in some way
Yeah.
because it carried her story. And
Yeah.
so when I reached out to you was because I was getting curious, but I'd never practiced
Mm-hmm.
reading objects, but I
Yeah.
trusted that it had a story because like I was told this ring was from the 1800s. And
Yeah.
it being an opal and having found it in an antique shop and like, all of that. It's like there's obviously some sort of story there. Uh
Yeah.
and so that's when I think it was was it Jesse De Silva? Uh connected
Yeah.
us.
Just the silver. Yeah.
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 Um and you did that reading, and then from your reading I took time to go into my records and open up to the spirit who was connected to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the feeling I got to, like, maybe you can tell me what you felt. We can kind of debrief on this a little bit, but I
Yeah.
definitely felt that she had already partially moved on. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think she, like, my friend has talked to me about like discerning between like ghosts and ghosts are the ones who
Mm-hmm.
haven't crossed, whereas a spirit has kind
Yeah.
of crossed, but they're still tapping back in. I do feel
Yeah.
like she had to a certain extent crossed over, but there was
Yeah.
lingering energy or ties connected. So she wasn't fully like at peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I was talking to her, I think the big thing that came through that touches on, like you said, like complicated energy was like, I think part of her hanging on to why she connected to me in the first place
Mm-hmm.
was because she needed to feel like her decision was worth something. Like her decision to
Mm-hmm.
stay in that relationship was worth
Yeah.
something because she, like you had said, she regretted it. Like she was really
Mm-hmm.
sad. Um, And I think what I needed to, and I just got chills down my left side, which is normally like reaffirming from spirits that
Mm-hmm.
something's going on. My right
Yeah.
side's my guides, my left side is spirits always.
Wow.
And I think what I needed to do for her, and that she's given me homework I haven't done yet, so there's more to this deal. But
Okay.
I think what I needed to do in our interaction was to show her like there was a lot more meaning to her staying than she gave herself
Mm-hmm.
credit for. And
Yeah.
as much as like in hindsight, she may have not
Mm-hmm.
followed her desires. It might have not been the best
Yeah.
relationship, whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
like what I kind of said to her was like, you provided a safe environment for your son. You did the
Mm-hmm.
best you could in the space that you were in. And like,
Yeah.
you do deserve peace and happiness now. Like that is not meant to be held against you because you did everything as right as you possibly could have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, I'm getting the chills again. I think she needed that to be affirmed for her because she couldn't find it for herself. And so she was trying to
Mm-hmm.
fill that
Yeah.
by kind of controlling my grieving process, to be honest with you, but not like in a totally
Okay.
controlling way. But that's why she was
Uh-huh.
staying latched on, was because that was giving her
Yeah.
purpose. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it does. It does make sense. So for me, the thing is that because her like her energy was like so complicated. It totally like blocked my sinuses. It's like, and I was like, okay, I'm not getting messages and like this way. It's like I did like this energy was like really heavy. It was like, okay, this one has like a story that's like
Yeah, she did.
not like,
Yeah.
yeah, she did like had definitely has a story that I cannot like process in the sense that I get like in a psychic way to messages. I was like, okay, I'm gonna read the cards.
Yeah.
And I pulled my cards out, and I literally sat with the cards for 20 minutes because I was like, what the hell is going on? I was so confused at first with like everything lying down. I forgot which of the cards it was, like what cards it were, but it was so like really, really, really confused. So then what I did, it was like, okay, you're gonna I took a notebook and wrote like the literal meaning of everything, and every card I wrote them down, and I just like picked them together as a story and what I feel, because that's how I normally get the messages right, with automatic writing and stuff. And I was like, and then I don't know what, it's like 20 minutes after, and it's like it clicked, right? Like something is like, oh, okay, now I know what it is. And I was like, oh no, like it was just so funny. It's like, oh, now I know. It's like, oh no, oh no, no.
Yeah.
No, it was like literally, it was like, oh boy, what is this? I felt like either I'm like in Downton Abbey, I like Downton Abbey, or like some Spanish Mexican telenovela, because it was like,
It's funny you say the Downton Abbey reference, because the image I got was very like, I don't know if that's
yeah,
but not quite. Someone's smoke alarm's going off. She looked very like Victorian, like
yeah,
elegant. Like
absolutely.
I wrote down, I'll have to send this to you. What I wrote, but I described what I saw when she showed me an image of herself, and her dress, from what I remember, was like, I think it was like a burgundy color, and the pleats around the like bottom that kind of poofed out were like more of like a tan kind of color.
Yeah,
With her
I
hair,
mean,
hair was up, and she had darker hair. And then what I got at the end though was her son, who was kind of trailing behind her, and he had like his little overalls on.
oh my God.
And he was around like 4 or 5 years old, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was like on a cobblestone pathway with like lots of people in the background,
Yeah,
kind of blurry.
yeah,
That's what I saw, at least. I don't know what you saw, but
yeah. I saw like what I don't get like too vivid like too vivid pictures, but I do get a young woman. It's like she was kind of like her hair was kind of blondish, but I don't want to say like too blonde, but it was like, how can I say it? It's like gold blonde, a little bit on the dark blonde side. Yeah, a little bit
like
on the
dirty
dark.
blonde. Yeah.
Yeah, 31. And so I did some research firsthand on your ring, because I mean, I'm an anthropologist, so that's the first thing I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, and what you're saying, I did got a glimpse of her fashion and stuff. And it was like, okay, I wear literally like vintage fashion, not really from the Edwardian area, but I do some research in that though. It's like really interesting. And it was like, okay, that your ring is like from the Edwardian era, and what I found a ring that's like the same ring as yours, and it's worth like $4,000+
Mine
like
was not
it's
that expensive, but
yeah, I mean like it could be like it's actually worth a lot of money, but so I do, but what I also got, like, this is like the same vision like yours. I that's why I knew that she was married into a wealthy family, because like I got this picture of a little bit of a like Dalton Abbey-ish, where they are in like this really, really big dining hall, right? And like there are like a lot of people sitting there. It's like really, really fancy. It's like aristocratic and stuff. And I was like, okay, now I know what's up. Like I got that picture and I knew immediately what's up. I knew immediately. I saw the whole cards and got this vision and I was like, okay, I know what's up. Oh no. Like
That's
like
and like I've never used cards to interpret a story. I hear about people doing this all the time. I've never tried myself. So I find that really interesting too that you did that. Yeah.
yeah. I do that mostly like with things like this where I don't initially get, when like the energy is really complicated. I used to do true crime readings,
Oh,
but
what?
I
Okay.
stopped that. Yeah, I stopped that because it's like really heavy energy and I cannot do that all the time. Like
Yeah, that feels
I
like
was like, I'm interested,
a
but
bit
no,
much. Yeah.
yeah, no. So
That's so cool.
um
Yeah.
yeah, back then I also like, I get pictures from people and I tap into the energy and then I shuffle the cards
Okay.
because with like really heavy energy and really complicated energy, I need to shuffle the cards
Mhm.
because then I get the full story, like more details. And
Mhm.
I think that with person who has like a really difficult story, I
Mhm.
think shuffle card like with cards is in like I don't have the access to the Akashic records. That's why that's the only way I can get like more like full details or at least a little bit of a detail.
Mhm.
So that's why I use mostly cards.
No,
And
that's
I
cool.
mean, yeah, I
Do you,
do get
oh, sorry. I was gonna ask, do you get when you're using the cards? Because like I do card pulls for people in the Akashic record readings I do for them. So like if I'm in someone else's records, but I also offer card pulls where I'm just in my records and I ask for help to just do a card pull for you. So it's like just a card pull. It's not like a whole Akashic records
yeah,
reading.
yeah, yeah.
But whenever I do that, my guides or their guides are showing me like what cards to pull and like what they mean. It's like I've actually had it where visually I will see my guide shuffling the cards and I mirror what she's doing. Um,
Okay.
so I'm curious, like, are you going up? Like, do you feel like there's kind of more of an external influence of energy on what you're pulling? Like almost the energy of the object is showing you what card to pull, or is it more coming from like your guides, or like how does that feel?
So how I mostly do it when I go on to other people's energies, I mostly say this incantation like spirit guides come to me and please connect me with the da 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 spirit guides. And it's
Okay.
mostly like when other people like I say the name, or in that case like I said please connect me with this ring's energy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then I have the access. Then I really like this is how I intentionally tap into someone's
Okay.
energy.
Cool.
And then I don't pull the cards, I shuffle the cards and I let just, the
Mm.
spirit guides or the energy, run wild, let's just say. And they have like a full access of the cards and the card's gonna fall out because I feel when I pulled cards, it's not because not confident enough to do that, but I don't feel called to do that because
Yeah, we all do
I
it
feel
differently,
that
right? Yeah.
yeah, I feel that I would manipulate something, and that's
Mhm.
like yeah. So I am more comfortable with other people's spirit guides or the energy or my spirit guides, to run wild, let's just say like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this.
No,
And
that's cool. And like I think that's for me, that's how it is. But I shuffle when they tell me to shuffle, but sometimes I just stack them differently and pull them. But
yeah,
what reaffirmed it for me, like going back to what you were saying about that 1965 was like I would so when I do card pulls, I do channel a message and I
hmm
do the card pulls. It's
hmm
just shorter than when I do like a full-on reading.
yeah,
And in my records, but well, usually
yeah,
sometimes I ping by accident and I'm like, sorry, but I'm here. Um, so, but with that, like what reaffirmed things for me is in some cases I get a blurb first. So I just go with it. If they're spewing out a message, I'll write it down.
yeah,
Sometimes it comes
yeah.
after. But there were cases where it came first and then I would do a card pull and
Mhm.
literally the wording of all of the cards I pulled was echoing
Oh my
in the
God.
thing I'd already channeled, like word for word sentences. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm trusting this, like, you
Oh
know?
my God.
And so I just kind
That's
of
so cool.
kept going with it. Sorry, my pump's buzzing at me, my blood sugar stuff.
It's
Yeah, so like for me, that was kind of how that started and how I
yeah.
started to like trust my abilities that way.
Yeah, it was like the same for me because like with her house, there's like another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So usually when I want to connect with the energy more intensively,
Mm-hmm.
now I can do that because we don't have a lighter and our matches, we don't have them anymore. I
Oh.
use them all. I use like I like to light up a candle, and like in my case, it's a tea light, and then I just stare into the flames, and
Interesting.
then just see what comes. And I like flame, like the word flame came into my mind, and I asked her like, was there like an arson or fire accident some sort happened? And then she said, yeah,
Oh wow.
the back of her house, like one part, it burned down. And then she sent me this this really old ass article, like from the newspaper from the 1934,
Mm-hmm.
where it was like, mentioned in the newspaper that at the same street, at this house, somewhere in the backyard,
Mm-hmm.
it burned down. And I was like, I guess I'm psychic. Okay. Like
Yeah.
that's when I was like, I'm gonna trust it. Well, I guess I'm that. I don't want to say powerful because I'm not that kind of person, but I guess I do have some more intense gifts. So this is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, the word powerful is tricky because I think too, it's like, I'm apprehensive to use it because it can come across really like kind of prideful, like not in a good way. And I think it's
Yeah.
important to have humility around these gifts in terms of like respecting them and also keeping that healthy skepticism as we move forward, right? Um,
Yeah.
Also, just in terms of protecting ourselves, like if we get too gung ho on the things we're powerful around, like, my empathic powers, my psychic powers, my whatever,
Yeah.
like talking to spirits, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Like,
Oh yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
so it's that healthy
Yeah.
amount of like, okay, maybe I don't quite know what I'm doing, so I should take a step back, protect
Yeah.
myself, ground myself, set a boundary, and then like take one step forward, not like a full
Oh
sprint.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I always say like be humble with yourself because like that's why I'm more like attracted to the occultism, like instead of like new age, spirituality, because I think because in the occult we do have this kind of like sense of reality, let's just say.
Mhm.
And then it's
Mhm.
like occultism is like really grounded. I
Yeah.
don't want to say that everybody is like this. Like we do have some weirdos and crazy people in like
Yeah.
really like in every community, but like we do have like a really healthy
Mhm.
like skepticism ground, and also
So important. Yeah.
yeah
No, I think that's really
with
great. And it's probably also partly why you and I kind of clicked because
yeah
I definitely I mean, I don't really ascribe to any specific thing because I'm a baby. Like it's 6 months
yeah
in or maybe
yeah
8 now, but I'm learning as I go. I will make mistakes. I will whatever. But the one
hmm
thing I will say is I think I have a healthy degree of skepticism and fear. That
hmm
means I don't just, I mean, I kind of did with the Akashic Records, but generally speaking, I don't just dive in. I don't just say, like, oh, I
hmm
can handle this. Or like,
yeah
I've had people give me ideas on how to deal with spirits in my house, and something about what they said just did not feel right. And so I was like,
hmm
like, no, I'm not doing that. And so I reach
yeah
out to a different friend for help, or like, you know what I mean? And I think that's a
hmm
really important perspective to keep as we
yeah
move forward.
yeah absolutely.
And it's okay to
Yes.
ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we also like in the occult, we do say, especially witchcraft occult,
Mhm.
do your research before you do anything. Like, I mean, I have a science background. That's why I mean, but it's for me natural that I do my research, right?
Mhm.
But I feel, and I'm not shaming or anything. It's just like, but it's just like my observations and what I've noticed, like things a lot of things in like New Age or something,
Mhm.
they don't like, they just dive in without doing research. And I'm like, the first thing you do with stuff like this, especially when you do spirit work
Mhm.
or any kind of energetic kind of
Mhm.
work or something, learn how to protect yourself. That's the very first thing, right? Because you don't want things to happen like in Ghost Adventures, where people connect with stuff they don't want to have in their house.
Yeah, I made
That's,
that mistake.
yeah.
But you know what? If you don't know, it's even if I like, how do you protect yourself if you're at a point where you don't know energetic protection is even a thing, right? So
Yeah,
that's where I think
absolutely.
like the communities we're in online and like I think that I like to think that Soulscape has become that for some people because I do see people asking like, how do I protect myself? How do I ground myself? What
Mhm.
am I doing? And it's
Yeah.
important that we have these people to help guide us because like I needed those people to guide me. I had no
Mhm.
idea. My friend became my friend because she helped me protect my house after that initial stuff
Mhm.
happened. And she,
Yeah.
honey, what were you doing? I was like, but no one told me. Like, how was I supposed to know? And when you're brand new, you don't necessarily know where like the ground zero to start research is. So like we're all gonna make some
Absolutely.
mistakes, but like, yeah, clearing, grounding, protecting. Those are the basic three.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I had, I mean, this is like a crazy story. I had my fair share of with crazy people. That's why, like, I had to like step back from magic and all the spirituality stuff
Mhm.
back, like, I think it was like winter 2020. So, like, at beginning of 2020, like slash at the end of 2019,
Mhm.
um, I had to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
I had an experience with someone which was not really pretty,
Mhm.
who had untreated schizophrenia,
Oh,
and she took like my whole belief
mhm.
to make something like feed her own world.
Right.
And yeah, she was also like physically not really great. That's why she confined herself in the basement, and
Jesus.
she's like older, like 40 something.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like not really the most healthiest thing.
Oh,
And yeah, back then I also didn't really know how, like, I I was like a little more of like a year like already into this kind of like spirituality stuff. Back then I was a practicing witch, but it was like without proper research, and I hate for myself to do that. But like everybody had might make mistakes, right?
mhm.
And I was like more ritualistic, which I don't do now anymore because of certain reasons,
Mhm.
and also it's not practical.
Yep.
um
That's what I've noticed. Yeah.
yeah, ritualistic is not practical. And then I wish that I knew how to proper protect myself, but I do have to say that I am grateful that I have large knowledge about psychology,
Mhm.
because I knew that something was not right with her. Like,
Yeah.
not only that I could feel it, thanks for my empathic gifts,
Yep.
but like I knew from like she spoke so cryptic that I was like she sounds so delusional, right? So that's why I was like, okay, nah. I distanced myself from her, and like really crazy things happen. I don't want to
Yep.
go too
That's
much
fair.
into
Yep.
details. And then I had to walk away from this and had like a little pause. And then for me, although I am sick of lockdown, but the lockdown in March here in Austria, that's how I like, you know, brought myself
Mm.
in again into this whole stuff and
Mhm. Mhm.
find my path and
Yeah.
also
That's what started
my
mine too.
yeah,
Like I have time, I'm alone. Why not learn to read the Akashic records? Why not find out I have entities attached to me? All right, let's talk to them.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. This was like the exact the same thing, because like my exam got like postponed to I don't know when.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had nothing to do. I cannot like study because I don't know when it's gonna be the exam. So okay, then I'm gonna go back to, drawing, and I'm gonna go back to this exploring my gifts. Like touch, like connect to it again. And that's how I actually learned properly how to protect myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, how I protect myself would be like different for like some other people or stuff. My protection, to be honest, not like being skeptic is like the best energetic protection you can ever have. Being skeptic. And also have like, everybody should have a healthy degree of reality.
Yep.
And yeah, that's how I also protect myself, and also intentionally not wanting weird energies in the house.
Yeah, that one doesn't quite work for me, but
Yeah, I know. It's like you're a medium. That's why it's like, okay.
am I? I don't know. But I think what I realized a while back, actually, because my friend had asked me, she's like, if you want to, you can put up a protection that would not allow anything in. And I kind of sat with it for a bit. And then I realized I was like, yeah, but that's not what I want. And
No.
it was big to admit that that's not what I want, because that has always terrified me. Like, I've always been so scared of things in my house. But then the thing is, I've had these connections, like even this one that you and I have developed and together have developed with Magdalena, the ring, like her name.
Oh,
That's the name I was given.
whoa, Magdalena.
Yeah.
This is German, actually. Magdalena.
I
It's.
think that's what it was. Let me find it for you. She gave me a last name too, though.
I mean, I speak German, so
Okay, yeah.
that's why I was like, I live in Austria. This is a German-speaking country, so.
Okay. I'll send you the
Magdalena.
I'll send you the transcription after so you can read.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Gonna see. Oh
But
my
like
God.
with that connection, it's like I value that. I value being able to help. And honestly, like these entities, whatever you want to say, like they come to me because they see something in me that mirrors what they're going through. And that's helped me heal, right?
Yeah.
And so I realized for myself, I was like, well, my wards aren't blocking everything because I don't want them to block everything. But the things that I have had a lot of intention around them blocking, they work. Like there's been a thing in this building following me around for months.
Jesus.
And
Oh my
sometimes
God.
it's fine. Sometimes I get the sense that it's following me down the hallway.
Okay.
And I just say a very strong, like, no, you're not coming with me. And then I come back into my house and I put a sigil on my door and I have some protection around, and it's worked. So it's good. I just will not be moving up to the third floor. But yeah, so it's like, I think the point being with that whole ramble, sorry, was that intent matters, but also I think when you see like skepticism, sometimes be skeptical of your own motives, because like the intent I was putting out there wasn't actually consistent with my desires, and that's why it wasn't working. So getting clear on really, what do I want? Like fear aside, what do I want? And I do want some amount of connection. So like, how do I move through that? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I do understand that you don't want to have them away or something. I do, because I'm working to be a little bit more open to this. I mean, I'm just not, I don't want to like have, living things around me. Let's just say like this. When I'm sleeping, I don't want to sleep peacefully.
Yeah,
That's why
it always happen.
yeah, that's why I'm like, no, that but I wish to know, like getting to know my spirit guides or something like a little bit better, because I'm not open to this kind of spirit realm in a sense. I don't have, I do have a great connection with them, but what I don't is I cannot see them, and I don't get their names, and I do know that.
Well, I don't have the names of mine either. But I think for me, the reason is because they're like, you don't need a name to know that this connection is real.
Yeah.
And I can sense when it's that energy. So like
Yeah.
I think that's important too, is it doesn't always look the same as what other people describe it as. And there seems to be this big thing in like
Mm-hmm.
this world of like,
Yeah.
well, my spirit guide gave me their name or like so and so, whatever. And it's like, cool. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
awesome, but it's not
Absolutely.
like you've reached like some next level. Like it just is, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like for me, it's like not a validation or some sort. I'm
Hmm.
just a curious cat.
Yeah,
Like I'm
that's fair.
really
You
curious.
you do science. You like to ask questions.
Yeah, I do ask questions, and
I
it's
get that.
like, oh, it would be cool. Like I do know whom, like to some degree, I know that my great grandma is one of my spirit guides. That one I know because my mom also told me like she loved me, like
Mhm.
the living hell. Like she really loved me, and she was the one who said like I'm a wise, like really wise kid, which
Mhm.
I like now I know that I have a deep wisdom
Mhm.
around me, and I'm like really a lot of people say that I am really grounded, and a lot of people love that, and I don't sound like your regular 25-year-old, right?
Totally.
And I I now I know that my spirit animal is an owl. So I mean that says a lot.
That's
Owl
a really nice
is like
story.
really, yeah, it's a really wise animal, and it's
I had
attached to
one
wisdom.
here.
Really.
One day the crows were going wild and I was like, what is
Hmm.
going on? And I go out to look at because there's trees right outside this sliding door over here. And I
Yeah.
look and I'm scanning and then I make direct eye contact with an owl. And I was like,
Oh my
oh,
god.
hello. And then I Googled
Oh.
what it means. And apparently it can be a sign that it's time to step into your spiritual gifts. Go figure. So all
Yeah.
right, owl,
Yeah.
I see you. Like, yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is that I work with deities. So I work with Athena. She
Okay.
was like, she has always been fascinated. I was like always fascinated with her story and with her, like, her as a deity, as a goddess. So here in Austria, you have to in the seventh grade you have to learn the Greek mythology, and in the eighth grade you need to learn the Celtic mythology.
Oh,
So like
I feel
we
like
are
we did Greek,
obligated.
but we didn't do Celtic. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I live in the Celtic region, so
That makes sense then.
it
Yeah.
was Celtic and Germanic. So, well, go figure. So it then I was like really fascinated with her, and
Mhm.
now I know why, because a lot of like there are witches that don't like necessarily believe in patrons, but she's my patron.
Mm.
And like I also say for those who are really like into like witchcraft or want to go dive too deep into it, the thing with patrons is a lot of people say, oh, I want to meet my patron and blah 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 blah. And I was like, no, you don't need to have like intentionally connect to them. They are
Mhm.
like with you,
Mhm.
just like observe your energy,
Yeah.
and um like what do you feel,
Mhm.
basically, what are, like, also observe your personality,
Yeah.
right? And your personality also mirrors
Mm.
basically your patrons, basically that your patron mirror your
Oh,
personality.
that's interesting.
I am,
I feel like
yeah.
we could probably have like a whole other recording talking about more of that stuff. Like, because there's
Yeah,
really so
yeah,
much to get into. Um,
absolutely. I mean, it's just like,
it's fascinating.
yeah, and I think that the reason why I am like also into like objects and psychometry and this like really more tangible, let's just
Mhm.
say, kind
Mhm.
of
That makes sense.
psychic ability is because, like, she's mirroring me and I'm mirroring her. That's more grammatically correct, but I
Yep.
am mirroring, yeah, Athena, because she is the goddess of strategy, war, and wisdom,
Mhm.
and also like some might say also like science and stuff, but like things that are like more tangible, but also like mixed with like mixed with spirituality because wisdom and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And I'm all about like back when I was doing like more explicit like coaching and I'm kind of getting into the spiritual mentorship arena now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not articulated. I'm just figuring it out as I go. But that was a thing, and it is a thing for me, has always been like bridging the gap between like spiritual and analytic. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where that healthy skepticism really comes into play as well. And it helps you articulate spirituality in a more tangible way, so that you can
Absolutely.
really connect to it with intention. And
Yeah.
for people like us who maybe have a more like sciencey, process oriented background,
Yeah.
that's a really important step to take, and like I think just an overall perspective to keep. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was not like I wasn't a fan of, I well, let's just say like it's like pseudo science
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
terms
Yeah.
with, for example, three and like 5D and dimensional
Yeah.
whatever. I was never a fan of it. And this whole thing that like terms that I don't understand. I mean, I have a science background, and there are still a lot of terms that I need to read myself into it in order to actually understand what the hell it means. And
Yeah.
if it like yeah, but the things that we learn, at least it makes sense, right? And then like in the new age kind of like a lot of pseudo sciencey terms, at the end it doesn't make sense. And that's why sometimes I do have my problems with a lot more this new agey kind of stuff and more like pseudo sciencey kind of terms.
That makes sense.
It's like, yeah, it's like you seclude yourself basically. You make yourself something like, oh my god, I'm that like
That's
no.
what I have an issue with, is that I think that and I say this on like almost every freaking episode, and this is where my skepticism and like resistance truthfully comes
Mm-hmm.
in, is that people are so quick to have to put a label on what they're doing and to fit
Yeah.
into a certain part of this spiritual community, but like with all the terms, with
Mm-hmm.
all the whatever. And sometimes I think the terms, there's like acknowledging the terms and the phrases, et cetera, that helps you respect a tradition and approach something in um, a respectful way. There's also
Yeah.
the point where terms, et cetera, become a way to like pigeonhole our experiences. And I don't actually
Mm-hmm.
think that's supportive to spiritual development. Um,
No,
so
absolutely
I
not.
resist when I see everyone being like, oh, like the full moon is doing XYZ. I'm like, is it though? Or like, I don't know. And maybe it is,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's enhancing, but I think to just always say like, well, I'm feeling this way because of this,
Mm-hmm.
takes away your agency and your own experience. And like, we have the human form for a reason. We're incarnated for a reason. So like,
Yeah.
finding that balance of what becomes a map for our experiences is important. And it sounds like you kind of take a similar approach in what you do. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like for example, if it comes to like astrology and stuff, like there's a lot of things that I do believe because astrology is like really old science and
oh, for
stuff.
sure. Yeah.
Like like I don't want to say like really sciencey because it yeah,
And
this
it
is
can
like
be,
another
yeah.
whole another controversial
Yep.
thing. But like a lot of things is like based on it, and there's like also as a call like a model behind astrology because CJ Young actually did some research, really famous psychologist, Swiss psychologist. And like certain transit, they can predict things, and they do can make you feel weird or you cannot sleep or something like this because
Oh, for
they
sure.
play with the energies and they mess with energies.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, my F camera doesn't work. Mercury
Yes, you said.
retrograde people.
Yeah. And that was like this week for me with it's a Leo full moon. And
Yeah.
I noticed some of that, like the teetering between like being really confident and secure and like all my
Hmm.
insecurities like really coming up. And I'm a Leo sun. I don't know how that corresponds and whatever. But I think it's always also important to just recognize like technology does just suck sometimes. Or like
Yeah.
it makes sense insecurities are coming up, because I was just on this awesome week-long trip with my new boyfriend and came back to being fully alone again. So like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
factoring in all of that. And like my
Hmm.
mentor kind of along this journey, the one who helped me with my house, the first thing she said to me was menial over magic. And I think
Yeah,
that's just that really important perspective to keep. But also, like you're saying, don't discount the fact that these are at play. It's just not getting
absolutely.
fully swept up in it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I do have like with this whole kind of thing, I do have like two stories. First of all, my son is also in Leo. My Venus is also in Leo. And like with this 3 days of full moon, I had a horrible sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mess. And like the first day of full moon, I had like really a terrible nightmare. I don't usually have nightmares,
Mm-hmm.
but I dreamt like someone wanted to stab me. Like I was like,
God.
yeah, no, what the hell is happening? I
Yeah.
don't have nightmares. And I literally, because it was so vivid, and I didn't know that our cat, like Merlin, came in the night and, slept under my feet. I unintentionally kicked him. And
Oh no,
it
I've done
gave,
that before to my cat too. Yeah.
yeah, it gave me a heart attack and I woke up, right? I thought I was like, I'm like kicking some air, and then I felt that, oh no, that was like Merlin. I
Poor
yeeted up, and
Merlin. Yeah.
yeah. And then I was like, okay, and then I rolled on my side, and then I cuddled my partner, and
Yeah.
to shift my dreams. And the second thing is that we like let's just say like this. I had this trickster spirit here in my house, and things like disappeared, and it something like prevented me to find it.
Mhm.
And it's like the thing is that with always like check on the mundane before magic,
Yep. Yep.
which I did. I searched up every corner
Mm.
of our apartment. I couldn't find it.
Mhm.
I even cast a spell. I cannot find it. And I was like,
Oh.
okay,
You're like, all
we
right,
have
dude,
a
where is
trickster.
this thing? Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, okay, we have a trickster here.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is this apartment is new. Like we just moved in
Yeah.
at the beginning of this month, right? And I was like, how in the hell did this fucking thing came here? I was like so angry.
Mhm.
And I literally like this Monday when I waited for my partner
Mhm.
to be at work because he doesn't believe in this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took out my bell and I cursed. Like I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Oh,
You
you
have
told me you
no
used the
right
bell
to
because of
be.
me.
Yeah. It was like, you have no right to be here. I want my stuff back.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not doing this.
Mhm.
And then at the same day, because my scrunchie, my scrunchie disappeared as well. And that's how I was like, you're not messing
Give
with
me my
me.
scrunchy back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The
really
first
funny.
was my right earbud, and then it appeared. My cat all of a sudden played with it. I looked for it for like 1 week,
Mhm.
and then it
And then it's just there.
appeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just there, and I was like, okay. And then my scrunchie disappeared, and I was like, okay, that's it. No, I'm gonna yeet your way. That's not happening.
So funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I get that. That's hilarious. I can relate on many fronts.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate everything. Like this has been super fun, chatting about all of
Hmm.
this stuff. And like I think we'll have to maybe, if you're open to it, do another recording on this occult business and the spirit
Yeah,
stuff more specifically. Because I'm kind of fascinated how
absolutely.
this journey goes for you. And I was gonna say too, like with that, I know I'm new on it, but as you're opening up
Hmm.
to like the entities, etc., feel free to reach out and I'll share what I can. Because I mean, my crash
Yeah,
course was pretty recent, so I remember it well. Um,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and like, yeah, I'm really excited to be connected. So like, thank you for sharing all the things and for helping with my ring and all of that.
You're very welcome. It was really, really fun. I was like looking forward to this whole
Yay.
conversation, and it was really, really fun. And I am also like excited to read the transcript though. Like
Yeah,
me
I'll get it over
being
to you shortly.
okay.
Because
All
I'm
right.
curious to know if it brings up anything else for you. And
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you
But
again so much.
you're welcome. It was fun. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Coffee Time. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if today's show resonated, I invite you to drop into the comment section and share whatever personal introspection came up for you today. Anything you can do to help make the show more accessible is super duper appreciated. Until next time, I am your host and coffee drinking companion, Natalie, wishing you a beautifully caffeinated day.